The GMC Acadia got some upgrades for the 2024 model. There's a new digital cluster screen and a new infotainment system that's built off of the Android operating system instead. And in this video, I'm going to unpack the Denali trim level while also talking about the differences of the different trim levels and helping you figure out if the Acadia is a vehicle that you should look at. Pricing for the Acadia in Canada is going to start at around $55,000 versus $46,000 down in the States. And that's going to depend on if you're in the elevation trim, the AT4, or the loaded Denali instead. So pricing is going to be reflective of the trim level that you choose, whether you're front-wheel drive, all-wheel drive, and even down to your paint choice options as well. Looking at the drivetrain for the Acadia, in the States, the elevation entry-level trim and then the Denali are front-wheel drive standard with the option of upgrading to all-wheel drive. But up in Canada, strictly looking at all-wheel drive regardless of the trim level. Wheels in general though, so you're looking at 20-inch as a default with the option of upgrading to these ridiculous 22-inch wheels instead. Chrome all over the place inside of this vehicle too, so even looking at the aluminum painted wheels, chromed out grille, you've got a lower part of the bumper that's also chromed out as well. There are LED headlamps inside of the ride, and then a lot of technology available inside of the Acadia. There's the forward sensing system. There's a front-facing camera as well. It goes along with the side-mounted cameras for an available full 360 cam. That 360 camera looks great, and surprisingly, the backup camera and even the side and front-mounted cameras all look pretty good at night. There's SuperCruise, so full hands-free driving on highways and interstates. And then there are also a series of other great features, including Park Assist, which for a vehicle this size could definitely come in handy. There is only one engine choice that's available inside of the Acadia, and that's the 2.5-liter turbocharged engine. 328 horsepower, 326 pound-feet of torque. This thing likes to fly. I want to make sure, though, put myself into sport mode. So there are a series of primary drive modes. Sport mode is going to hold on to the RPMs a little bit longer in order to give you a sportier performance and better launch. So let's get back up to highway speed here, and we'll go in 3, 2, and paddle shifters. 100. I would say that is pretty acceptable power. For an SUV that's this big, it's got some balls. This engine is going to compete with the Ford Explorer, the 2.3-liter EcoBoost, so their base engine. It's going to kick the butt of the Telluride, the Palisade, and a number of other vehicles in this class. You can easily check your oil if you need to, top up your fluids as necessary. Looking at the warranty inside of the GMC world, it's pretty industry standard. So basic is going to be a 3-year, 36,000 mile, 60,000 kilometer. Powertrain gets bumped up to a 5-year, 60,000 mile, 100,000 kilometers, which is pretty solid. Just take care of your ride. Top up your fluids as needed, change your oil as necessary, make sure you take it in for regularly scheduled maintenance. This car is going to take care of you. The rear end of the Acadia is simple, and there are some nice design elements to it. The lamps have a nice black bezel that wraps all the way throughout, and there's a gloss in the very middle that shoots right across. There's some standard technology that you're going to find inside of this vehicle too. So there's the reverse sensing system, there's a backup camera, and the rear wiper. Those are always going to be there. There's also the option for a mounted camera along the very top. I'll touch on that one in a second. But there's a chrome bumper, again, following that chrome highlight in the back. And then there's also the option for towing inside of the Acadia. You're going to be able to tow at least 1,500 pounds if you do something aftermarket or front-wheel drive. And you're maxing out with the factory tow option at 5,000 pound towing, so with a class 3 receiver. So 7-pin, class 3, which is incredibly useful. Getting to the actual hitch, a little bit of a pain, but actually pretty easy as well. So if you trace right underneath, there are a few little tabs that you're going to rotate, so some butterfly tabs. And then when you do that, that's going to release it. And all you have to do, pull, and out it comes. And it's the same idea in order to reinstall. I'm like, reinstall, please, reinstall. And twist. There we go. And there are a few different ways that you can get into the trunk of the Acadia. There's a button along the driver's side door. You can also utilize the key fob to do it. And just to the right-hand side of the backup camera, there's a button that you can push. And then my favorite feature, as long as the vehicle's locked, you've got to get a few feet away for at least 10 to 15 seconds. And then all you're going to do, just walk up towards the back end. And as long as you've got the key fob on you, love that feature. Nothing really off to the left-hand side of the trunk. Off to the right, there's a 12-volt power point, and then some buttons to fold down the seats. There's a storage tray in the back with a regular carpeted liner, and lifting it up, this one has the cord for the engine block heater, and then there's a good amount of storage. There's also a spare tire here, and in order to get to it, there's a whole bunch of these little pieces, and once you have all of them out, you're just going to lift the tray. Yeah. Chaos. And lifting that out gives you access to the mini spare tire. The jack stand is back there as well, so very, very useful. There we go. Very useful if you need it. So everything's there if you want to change the tire yourself. The jack stand is there, the mini spare tire is there. But one of the nice things about being a GM owner is that you also have access to roadside assistance. And that's good for the same 5 years as the powertrain warranty. So it's a 5-year, 60,000 mile, 100,000 kilometer coverage. And you can call an 800 number to have a tow truck come out and help you with tire changing, fuel delivery, winching services, lockout services, and a number of other features. Just one of the added benefits. Now I mentioned folding down the third row seats. There are buttons along the side. So it's power down and up. There's no manual option for it at all. So if the buttons there don't work, you have to take it in for service. But in order to fold the seats down, you can fold down the left seat or the right seat independently. So just do a button push in order to make it happen. And it's nice and simple, and it gives you an incredibly flat fold. Folding down the second row seats, there's a button along the side. So it's power down, but it's manual back up for the second row. So you could technically fold down the second row seat from the second row if you didn't need to get into the trunk. But doing it back here, just a button push, down she goes. And there's a solid amount of space here. The second row seats can be slid forwards or backwards a little bit, but the dimensions that you're looking at, specifically behind the first row, are going from right where the liftgate would close to just in behind that armrest between the first row seats. So if the driver's seat, passenger seat were forwards, backwards a little bit, you'd gain or lose a little bit of extra space. And that's the same way with the second row. So a few extra inches of space there, depending on how forward or backwards those seats are. And then raising the seats, straightforward. So for the second row, you do have to get inside the vehicle in order to make it happen. And then for the third row, all you're gonna do, you can just button push. You can do them both at the same time, up or down. And once the seats are up, you only have to worry about lifting up the headrests. And it's that easy to do it. Filling up fuel inside of the Acadia is done just along the driver's side. It is an unlocked cover though. It does have a capless system, and that capless system does feature anti-siphon technology that's built in. Minimum manufacturer's recommendation inside of the Acadia is technically just 87. So the owner's manual does say 87 or greater. So you can get away with just using regular fuel. And honestly, for most people, regular 87 is all you would need to use. The only time I'm really going to recommend looking at putting in a 91, if you're putting the vehicle under heavy load. So if you're towing close to maximum, if you're going off-road, whatever the case may be. But other than that, save yourself some money at the pumps and just go for regular instead. The Acadia is a full-size SUV, and it's pretty big at the same time. It's got seating for 7, regardless of the trim level of the vehicle that you're in, but I'll touch on seating in a second. There's the option for crossbars and roof rack rails, so if you need carriers and things like that that are available, you could look at storing canoes up there and things like that as well. Getting inside the vehicle is straightforward. Like, it's a big vehicle. You do have the option for aftermarket running boards if you really need them, but just because of how high up this thing is off the ground, most people shouldn't have an issue getting in or out. And there is an assist handle for the second row if you need it. The Acadia has a feature for auto lock. So as you walk away, as long as you've got the fob on you, the doors are going to automatically lock. Really useful. But you saw there, the side mirrors are power folding. There's also the turn signals in the mirrors there. There's the option for that side-mounted camera as part of that 360 view. Along the door itself, just so much chrome. All of the chrome everywhere, even along the door handle here. You can push there to either lock or unlock the doors, and then sliding inside. Look at that. Beautiful interior. But there's a nice wood grain there, faux wood, with the option for driver's seat memory. And then outside of that, these are all going to be the same regardless of the trim of the vehicle that you're in. So you've got side view mirror controls, window controls, and some door storage. You can open and close the liftgate there. And then you've got that wood trim that follows all the way throughout. There's an electronic parking brake, adjust your driving mode. You can lock out all-wheel drive, very useful if you're off-roading. There's the auto start stop, so the one that kills power to the engine if you come down to a complete stop, and then adjust the brightness of that cluster screen. These are just the regular cloth liners. Honestly, I'd pony up and go for the thermoplastic rubber trays myself. Whether that's from the factory or aftermarket, it's very, very useful. There are a few different types of seats, a few different seating materials that are available inside of the Acadia. But with this, your power seat, so forwards, backwards, up and down, adjust your backrest, four-way lumbar support as well, and the seat comfort is there. But this, hold on, yeah, you can just see it, would be a reason why I would stay away from the white seat. So a little bit of staining here, and I think this car only has like 4,000 kilometers on it. Actually, maybe even less. Hold on, let's do a little startup here. Look at this. Oh, that looks good. The new cluster screen, the new infotainment, looks solid. Yeah, 2,500 kilometers there, and it's already got a little bit of seat staining. So there are two different color interiors you're gonna find. As beautiful as this one looks, unless you're gonna get it professionally cleaned often, I would go for the darker one instead. You can see here, there's a head-up display. If you've got navigation going, it's gonna show your turn-by-turn directions, but there's so much. It's like, where do you start? The steering wheel inside of the vehicle is incredibly comfortable. There's this glossy highlight along the very top. So when you've got the new SuperCruise feature enabled, that goes green to let you know that the feature is fully active. It's so good. But if you want to walk through, like you want to know how to use the adaptive cruise control, go into SuperCruise, but utilize any of the buttons here, go through the new infotainment system. You'll find walkthroughs down in the description of this video. But there are so many things. Love that Denali badge in the very middle. There's a voice command prompt. There's a heated steering wheel. And then there's this button, but watch this. Oh yeah. Changes out to full mapping cluster. So there are a few different views that are available. That is more of a classic, but that map and cluster view, so good. And it's Google Maps too. So the new infotainment system is based off of Google's Android operating system instead. So it's not GM's system, it's now Google, which is fantastic. But getting ahead of myself. The steering wheel has paddle shifters here. So mine is on the left-hand side, plus on the right. But if you've never used paddle shifters before, I put together a walkthrough video explaining how it's done. It's straightforward and it's such a useful feature. Along the back of the steering wheel, you've also got some other buttons. So you can change between presets. And then along this side, you can increase or decrease the volume this way as well. Really nice. I love it when cars have that available as an option. Inside of the infotainment system, there's so much. So this is the new option. You've got basics here, like so many things. This is a full Android device. So you can even log into the Play Store here and you can download so many different apps right inside of the screen here. So neat. You've got this little split view. You've got the flexibility of being able to customize this as well. So if you wanted to have something else on there, you could. But like I said, factory navigation is there and it's now based off of Google Maps instead. So it's super responsive. But if you want to walk through, like I said, of the full infotainment system, you'll find it down in the description. I love that you've got a full 360 camera with a series of different views. So a hitch view, backup view, front view, top view, side-mounted camera views as well. It looks so good. So good. Wireless Android Auto and Apple CarPlay inside of this ride. You can go wired as well. So there are a few USB ports down there that you can utilize. Nice little slidable tray as well. There are different options for light, so light controls baked right into the screen. There's ambient lighting. It's subtle, but there's some ambient light across the board, and you've got the option of adjusting the color here as well. Looks good. Oh, there are a few different speaker choices that you're going to find inside of the vehicle. So this one is the upgraded 16 speaker Bose system. So there's either a 12 or a 16 speaker, and the audio quality is good. So I'm going to go based off of a USB stick here. And going USB, you've got, well, even so many options like AM, FM, Sirius XM. If you had your phone hooked up, you can connect that way instead. But so many options. Sirius XM, USB, strictly for audio. Because this USB stick does have video playback on it, or videos on it, I should say. But no videos here. So let's go. This is just coming out of the microphone here, so there's no post-processing done at all. The audio quality inside of the system is amazing. And you get really good audio inside of the lower Bose system. It's a Bose system. The audio inside of Bose speakers is great. But let's see here. Let's go through, do another song.
Different paths from everyone, and that includes you. Who are you to tell me how to live life? In these times, it feels like nobody's right. Yeah. So I'ma figure out what else we succeed, and then invest all of my time into that and proceed.
And I love it. Little screen button in order to turn off audio, or if you find this screen too distracting, you can turn the whole thing off instead. So good. And then just button press and hold. Oop, button press. Oh, there we go. Just a single press, but so good. The audio is so good inside of this ride. Now, one thing that some people may not be crazy about is that the climate controls are baked into the screen. So you can adjust your climate this way, adjust your fan speed and things like that. But forward thinking on GM's part, you can also utilize these little toggles to go up and down in order to adjust your climate. And one crazier thing, you can use your voice. Turn up driver's climate to 19.
Okay, changing the temperature for the driver to 19 degrees.
So it does it using your voice instead. So you could use all of these paddles, the switches and things like that, even to adjust your fan speed. But you can also use this. You can use your voice. There are so many ways to do it. If we look down low, you can also see, giving it a reach around here, that there's a 12 volt power point down there as well. So a little bit of storage, 12 volt power point, very, very useful. There's a wireless charge pad inside the vehicle. I mentioned a few USB ports, some cup holders. Armrest in here has a fully removable tray and nothing else otherwise, just a good amount of space. Non-lockable glove box down there, which does have a good amount of space to it. The overall visibility here is solid. Love that. Rearview mirror has an auto dimming function, so if there's an idiot behind you flashing their high beams, it'll auto dim. But one crazier thing is that you can take this little tab. Remember that camera I showed you in the back? Bam! Look at this. Fully digital rear view as well. So you can adjust the brightness there if you want to. You can zoom in, zoom out. You can move the positioning of it as well, or just go old school with, oh, there we go, your regular rear view instead. From there, it's a GM vehicle, so you've got your SOS and tow mode, 4-way blinkers up there, and then there's also controls for, look at this, your full panoramic sunroof. So you could easily open and close the shade here if you want to, stop it part way. You can slide or you can tilt the sunroof as well. Look at that. Beautiful. Just opens things up so nicely. So single button press opens it up most of the way. Secondary button press is that last little bit. But the side profile looks great. Really useful, but that just opens things up so nicely. Full panoramic roof. Looks good. There's a sunglasses holder there. Switching to the side there. So you've also got a ticket receipt holder on the outside. Vanity mirror has lights built in as well. And then this stretches out, blocking most of the sun. That'll hit your face. There's a little holy crap handle on the driver passenger side as well. And then the seat space is really solid too. So hold on. It's so ridiculous. So with the seat as far down as it's going to go, I've got an obscene amount of headspace there. What's that? Like 7+ inches of headspace, 7+ inches. It's ridiculous. So I'm 6 feet tall. So like 6'6", 6'7", you'll probably comfortably be able to sit inside of this ride. Such a useful feature. But this is good. Okay, we've got it. I love the new cluster screen. That's awesome. I love being able to do a full mapping cluster like that. Having the head-up display is a nice touch. The new infotainment system is great. But let's take a look at the second row. So you're not going to find second row sunshades there, but same highlights along the second row. So the door there with some storage. You've got pockets behind both the driver and the passenger side. And then a few cup holders back there. Down low, there's controls for the second and third row climate. So you can adjust the fan speed. You can adjust the climate there as well. You can have it into an auto mode going to your face feet. There's the option for the outboard heated seats as well. So your second row seats are out heated. Down low a bit more, there's also 2 USB Type-C power points, and then a traditional wall plug back there, and a tiny little storage tray as well. But that is so good. And one fun thing is that the climate in the back, you can actually lock it out through the infotainment system. So if the people in the second row are fighting, you can lock it out so they can't use it. It's pretty good. There's some armrests back here, fairly comfortable. Looking along the door, nothing crazy. There's an assist handle there. Up overhead, a vent control with a little light as well. It's good. Then, just in between your legs, there's also this little bar that you can grab in order to slide the seat. But even with the seat as far forward as it'll go, with the driver's seat set up this way. So inside of the second row, good amount of knee space, foot space, and head space. So sitting fully upright, I'm maybe 2.5, 3-ish inches of head space. And then foot space, like I said, you can slide the seat. So really, you can create more space if you really need it. And you can take this lever. So the one that you'd use in order to fold the seat down, oh yeah, you can recline as well. And the second row seats inside of the Acadia, really, really comfortable. That's nice. But other than that, there aren't too many features inside of the second row. It's nice, it's simple back here. Getting into the third row can be done a few different ways. I mean, obviously you could shimmy back if you wanted to, but along the door, there's also a button that you can push. Nope, push and hold. There we go. Push and hold in order to get inside of the third row. Wow. Oh, that's nice. Nice and comfy. But let's pull that seat back for a second here. Okay, so the seat's back as far as it's going to go here, and it is super tight for me. Shifting across to this seat where it's moved forward a bit, I do actually have some space here. So good amount of foot space, knee space, head space. It's surprising. Like 3.5-ish inches of head space, which is good. So inside of the Acadia, seating for 7. You've got 2 in the front, 2 in the middle, 3 in the back. So your seatbelt for the middle seat up overhead there. And then otherwise, just along the side. Now, getting 3 full-size adults in the third row is going to be tight. Ooh, that's really tough. I mean, whoever's back here could just kick their legs up if they really wanted to, but it would be super tight back here. I will say, the middle seat, though, actually has a good amount of cushion. It's fairly comfortable, like surprisingly comfortable. Third row seats typically get ignored, but the seats overall, I wouldn't say they're very comfortable, but I wouldn't mind going on distance trips. But if you've got kids, doesn't matter. Second, third row, you've got anchors and tether points there as well. There's a button that you can push along both seats if you wanted to be able to get out the third row, or you could shimmy in order to make it happen instead. Straightforward. Oh, this is good. I love how much that roof opens things up in here. Oh, that's nice. But I do have to say, like the color combo here, the blue with that white interior looks so good. But like I said, the only thing that I would be concerned of is staining on the seats. So, I mean, really you could Scotch guard it, whatever the case may be, but what do you think? The ride overall is great. The seats are comfortable. en route handling here. Let's see. Same thing, I'd say that that's pretty acceptable. It's good. Nice. Power is there. And then one thing that I really love about GM cars now is that they do have SuperCruise available. And SuperCruise is full hands-free driving. So it's going to be 400 series highways throughout Canada, Trans-Canada Highway, things like that. And then you've also got interstates, like tons of interstates, freeways, and things like that throughout the US. But it is literal hands-free driving. So you still have to be watching the road because there are cameras that are watching your eyes and where they're positioned. But taking me fully around bends here, the car is doing its thing. And it's an adaptive cruise control essentially on steroids. So not only is it going to work like a regular adaptive cruise control would, where if the car in front of you brakes, yours is automatically going to brake. If they change lanes, pick up speed, it'll bring you back up to your set speed. But with this SuperCruise, I mean, looking here, completely hands-free driving, which is amazing. But there's even the option for an auto lane change feature. And what that feature does is if the car in front of you is going too slow for your speed, it's going to automatically check on the side. It can automatically change lanes for you and get around that slower driver. The cabin is fairly quiet. Some active noise cancellation helps out with that. This is a good drive overall. The seats are really comfortable. It's a big SUV, but the handling is solid inside of this ride as well. It's good. I want to check out what the turning radius is like. Ooh, toit, did it. And then back up to speed. And yeah, like I said, the handling for an SUV this size is great. I mean, if you have to get out of the road as something quickly, this has you covered. It is a big SUV though, so the likelihood if you do an evasive maneuver of rolling, it is higher. Not gonna say you will roll, but I mean, if you're taking an off-ramp exit at 150, things are gonna happen. It's gonna get crazy. But I mean, otherwise, if you're driving it the way you should, this car is more than safe. So, do you look at the GMC Acadia as your next ride? The engine is more powerful than the base Explorer, the Telluride, and the Palisade. So if you're looking for something that's got a good amount of power, good style, and handling, it's something that should probably be on your radar. But you can find a build link for this Acadia down in the description, along with links off to GM Canada and US and some other videos down there as well. But if you found this video useful, give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, and until I see you next time, take care. Ooh. Jesus. Oh my God, what is happening? All you're gonna do is walk up to the back end. There's a little sweet spot that you have to hit, but watch this. You serious?